Welcome, friends, countrymen. We're here on the day of Pi Day to celebrate an offering of another slice of Big Brother Canada. I'm here as a part of the Super Mater Brothers podcast with fellow podcaster Dave Mater.
Hello, good evening. I'm here to talk to Big Brother. This is an interesting season, and I think we're gonna get some have some interesting discussions about my draft pick Zach.
Yes, and also always a pleasure. The man they call Foster.
Always a pleasure, boys.
Alrighty. So we're gonna get into this. This is episode 3 recap analysis, and we start off with previously on Big Brother, Santina and JM have battled it out to find out who the HOH is, and the winner was
Santina. I know this answer. I was like,
yes, and dead last was
Renee.
Just making sure everyone's up to date.
I'm like, I know the answer to this one too. Renee.
All right. So we're introduced to the dynamics of the house more so than previous episodes. So we kind of see how things shake out, Dave. And
we get to see the HOH room to start off the episode for Santina with some of her photos, cats and dogs and family members and friends.
I'm trying not to be Jeff and be like absolutely negative to this sequence. I'm like, okay, it's the first one of the season, so they kind of have to, show what people are getting, and they had to deliver a bit of news. One of the interesting pieces of news that we get dropped in this is that Wendy's is no longer a lunch or a dinner. It is a breakfast that they're focusing on.
You can get breakfast there now. They're going to let you know that,
I still have yet to try any of their breakfast menu items, and it's disappointing because the one that's close to me has been under renovation because it was one of the older ones, and I haven't. So I gotta figure it out.
Okay.
Have breakfast.
Dave, have you had Wendy's breakfast?
I don't think I have, actually. I can't say I've been to Wendy's for breakfast. This is a new thing. That was always like a Burger King or McDonald's thing. You didn't even go there. Yeah. But Herman works there now. Herman.
Our first HOH from Big Brother 10.
Yeah.
And
I am a top 5 best car salesman in Canada.
Yes.
Top 5 best car salesman.
So do you think, I asked this question, do you think Herman should be the one giving anyone any advice in terms of how to play Big Brother?
I wouldn't even take his advice on what to have for breakfast. So no, I don't think so. Like, I think it's nice. I don't know. What do you make of these cameos? Because it's like, I'm here to promote Wendy's, but because you're wearing this uniform, the recognizability of you is taken away. They have to do these little packages to explain to you who these people are, because you're like Foster, you didn't see last season. You're like, who's Herman? Were you satisfied and knowledgeable, Foster, on who Herman was coming into that Wendy's segment?
Honestly, I was just more disappointed in the fact that I still haven't had Wendy's yet. It was more a slap in the face to me at the first of all, Dave. It was like Willie Wendy's
slap in the face.
Wendy's was throwing, like, we have breakfast at you. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like a breakfast baconator. Like, why haven't I? It's because they can't make breakfast past 11 o'clock. Come on, this is ridiculous. Anyways, that's my own beef with the Big Brother character. I didn't know who it was, right? So it was kind of like, like they're introduced, like, even like they were talking about last season's winner a lot now,
Kevin,
and they're incorporating him, and then they had that big portrait at the beginning of the season, right, with all these different, and they weren't all winners, they were different characters. All those look tasty. But you know what I mean? Like, it's
not a sponsor for our show.
Sponsor
for Big Brother, but not for us.
Not yet. Anyways, but See, lost my train of thought with the.
All
You
takes
have
is a
your
little
mind
French
focused
toast.
on the Wendy's.
I know it's warping my brain. I'm gonna have to. I can't get it now because it's in the middle of the night, so it's ridiculous. But, anyways,
Okay, here's a question.
So-
if you, let's like this HOH here of Santina, Jaemeel. How do you feel it's going for her? And this, I guess, the other question I have for both of you is like this dynamic of her and John Michael, who were like this team who won the first part of the competition and then went against each other. She won, but they ultimately end up at odds here in this episode where she's like, I'm putting his ass up or backdooring him. I guess the plan at the moment is to backdoor him ultimately, so
How do I feel her HOH is going?
Yeah.
It's a loaded question simply because I feel I'm being influenced by not necessarily her HOH, but how she's dealing with people trying to stranglehold her HOH, or to in this case, not mansplain, but manhandle her HOH, I will say.
Sam, Wendy's is an hour away, guys.
No, that's no. Show what Jeff said. This is insulting. Just throw it. Look at now. Jeff's throwing it in my face.
3 times. He said it 3 times.
I want 3 times.
That's kind of insulting. That's kind of insulting. Just before, you know what? Let me get a response from you. How did you feel about my answer regarding that? Do you think it's accurate?
Yeah, well, I think it's a little disappointing. I think her HOH so far because I think Zach is pushing her around. Like I think she's handling him in a sense, but on the other hand, I think it's kind of. I don't think that she's who she's sort of going against or rubbing against at the wrong times is unnecessary. And I think it's so it's a bit sloppy overall. I think her HOH, and I think this John Michael thing is another example of that. Where sure he's like. Kind of he's not really a likable guy in the game, I don't think he kind of like seems to be abrasive and he's like I'm just gonna put people up and he's not like playing.
That's not what he said. That's not what he said.
Well, that's how he's being perceived at least. Okay, so
that's the narrative that Zach is providing.
Well, and Zach is succeeding.
He did say I'm putting up the guys. He did say
that's
that.
Not
Zach.
exactly what he said. That's not exactly full context.
Implied that Zach is not a guy.
He's like, if I'm in power, I'd be putting up the guys.
Because John Michael,
the full context of what he said is that so far no one has done anything right to really stand out. So you're left with no choice as to just trying to put something against the wall to choose someone. And worst comes to worst, I guess I'm gonna have to put up the guys. If no one's doing anything wrong, I guess I'm gonna put up the guys. I guess I have no problem saying that. That's an idea. Like that's how he was portraying it.
It didn't cross that way though, and that's the problem. Well, but here's the thing. Everything that he does not come across well with the rest of the household, right? That's the big issue, right? He doesn't come across well. He's not mingling. Like even this opportunity with the Santina and with the breakfast. And he didn't like he knew he didn't make a good impression when he left.
Okay. Whew. I don't believe that narrative. I believe that he is because everyone's talking about how he's talking to everyone, right? 1, 2, he said that he was focused on getting to know Santina, right? The only reason why we're being told that JM is a problem is because he talks a lot to people, right? And he said that if worse comes to worse, he'll put up the guys, right? So the people who feel threatened are, well, he's a player, and 2, he might get involved in my my motivations,
my alliances, or whatever, my showmance, or whatever it is,
which is Zach and his bro alliance, which is being plainly obvious about it, and 2, Santina and the possibility that Roberto might be in trouble. So I push back against that narrative that JM's being a problem.
Right. Okay, well, fair enough.
That's how they're showing it. That's how they're showing it.
That's how they're kind of portraying it. I don't think that John,
if only
JM. If we're gonna go, JM is his nickname. Well, Zach doesn't even know his name. Didn't Zach call him like Jesse Martin or something?
He meant that. I think he meant it. I think he meant that.
So Foster, do you believe that? Was it John
Martin.
Mitchell? John Martin.
John Martin. I think you got the first part right. You know?
John Martin is in love with Zach.
He's in love with me.
No, I don't think he believes that. I also don't think that he believes like his name's wrong. He knows what he's doing.
Okay, let's go with Zach. Zach is, do you guys think he's a good player or a bad player?
He's a good player. He's a very good player.
Jaemeel.
What are you shaking your head?
I'm shaking my head. He is A1.
He may not go to the end, but he understands and he's very likable by everyone, right? So he's
Get back at him.
He's had a lot of opportunities.
Okay. Look, he's gonna flame out so quickly. He is a 4-week boot. The dude is totally putting his hands in the pot way too much, right? Even the people in his own alliance, they kind of like, oh geez, like who is this dude? He tried railroading his entire alliance, and they kind of got like, what the hell is this dude's problem?
Yeah, he's just like, do you guys know how to play the game? You do know like how the game works, right? You know, and you're just like, dude. You know, he's not afraid to be like condescending to people to sort of get what he wants.
He's absolutely condescending.
Yeah,
he's a total douche nozzle.
I think this is just how he normally acts in his professional life.
I have no doubt.
And I think that this probably works for him a lot of the time, though. Like, I don't know.
He just railroads over people. Now, the problem is this is not a workplace, right?
Where you have to like play with this. There's an etiquette, though. There's like a social etiquette, but there's less.
People will step away. Like when you're working with people, you're like, oh, geez, man, he was on my ass today or anything like that.
Yeah.
Like he's used to a position of power. I want to see when he pushes that power way too far and people push back.
Yeah. Or when somebody really calls him on just being a jerk and seeing how he will deflect it, or if he'll confront that, or what his reaction will be is curious for me. But
so Foster, I understand what you're saying, right? And he's trying to lay track down so that he can railroad this season, right? He wants to set up. He sees it in front of him and he can't help himself, right? He's got the bros there. He's got the women who wants to be a part of the alliance. It's like everything's coming together, right? But his initial instinct is right. You don't make an alliance on day one because it always falls apart. Always.
Okay, guys, just in terms of the episode recap, the whole sequence here where I think they get called to the pantry and then they get this basically a pizza party that comes up here next, where they get a bunch of pizza and they dance a bit. It's good times. Champagne was flying.
Handcuffs.
Oh, they got all handcuffed together. That was kind of the whole point here. What do you guys think of the handcuff twist? Was this good or bad?
It was good for a segment, really, because they were just trying to get, wacky situations. And was it Hope and is it Claudia? No, not Claudia. It's Hope and
Renee. I think he was farting on her. That was his twist to the being handcuffed.
Yeah, Renee.
We got Zach here and sorry, what's his name? This guy?
Daniel.
Because there's tattoo Dan and there's Daniel.
Yes. So not DJ Daniel or DJ Dan or Dan. It's Daniel C, which is the one who's tattoos, and I believe Daniel S, which is the other one, right?
Dan S, yeah.
Yeah. They're part of the Purple Toucan room, which is considered on the outs, which has Anika, JM, Hope, Claudia, and what I refer to the duo as the Daniels, because that's in vogue now. Everyone, everywhere, everywhere,
they're
everywhere
awesome.
else. Yeah.
All once, yes. And all the
Daniels.
multiverse, even here in the Big Brother Canada 11 house.
Yes. Okay, let me just do some quick catch up because there's some things that we missed in terms of conversations. So Claudia mentions about an all-girl alliance. The problem that you have with an all-girl alliance, especially in how they try to structure it in Big Brother, is the girls' alliance try to make the alliance where it's just the girls together. Whereas the boys' alliance typically have men who group together and then they pair up with other women so that they have a good sense of what's going on in the house, right? There's more of a social contract involved as opposed to just like, we're women, right? And you can already see the boys' alliance isn't just if you have a penis, you're part of the alliance. If you're not one of the bros, you're not part of the alliance.
That's kind of the fundamental difference between like the guys' alliances and the women's alliances, and because of how I think the men think about it, it's more of a fluid thing. It's something to get me a little further in the game. It's not about guys are better or guys need to prove something, whereas women's alliances is gonna be like, this is gonna be epic because all the ladies are gonna applaud when we succeed, but and say how good for you girls, but like it's really only one of you can still win. So I think, and I think that there's other reasons that the women's alliance doesn't work too, because I think it's there's always at least one woman who's like, no, this is dumb, and
they don't like each other. That's the problem.
Yeah.
The alliance is
at least two people won't. You know,
the alliance is built on, yay, we're women, as opposed to the guys are like, bro, I like you, kind of deal.
Yes, I think that there's. Typically, I think there are exceptions, though. You know, I think it can be.
Santina says she wants to work with people who know the game, but then she says that she wants to work with Zach, Ty, and Roberto.
Come on, Zach. Come on. Who barely knows anybody's name.
Neither of them are super fans.
No, I don't know what to make of Zach. Like, he's either a great player or the worst player. I'm leaning towards worst. But you know, I'm hoping.
Who was it last season who torpedoed his
Last season?
It was last season. I think I had him as a pick. He was the gentleman who had the same name.
Kyle.
Wasn't he? Kyle, yes.
Kyle 2.0.
Yes. Kyle 2.0
from
flamed out. Foster. I've seen this play out before, where someone looks like they get the hooks in the game and they look like they're good, but you can kind of see that overbearing like thing, and then eventually they go 1 week too far and it just explodes. Everyone just turns on them. Any problem that comes up, let's say not even that the boys alliance is outed, because it's practically outed already, but anytime a large group of people say that they feel threatened by it, he's going to be the fall guy.
Right. Yeah, like I think that that it's a good comparison. Kyle was a guy who seemed like he was well connected for the season, seemed like he was going to go far, and then he just played the worst HOH week you could ever see. And I think everyone's like, "Oh, this guy's dumb. This guy has no strategy." And I think that that's kind of maybe the trajectory Zach could be on, where people are going to figure out this guy is not my kind of guy. And then ultimately they vote him out. They might not figure it out until after the jury phase, which would be make for a much longer season for everybody, I think. But we're gonna see. Or more interesting for me. I hope Zach does stick around, because I think he's kind of like one of these more disruptive types of personalities that could make this season really interesting.
I think he is everything he says JM is, he is.
Sure.
He's a disruptor. He's the one who's like, you know, trying to control people and divide the house. Roberto said in talking about Claudia, in Santina, says she's playing her game right. She's really attractive. What a wonderful quote. That's a direct quote that he said.
Yeah, like Zach, I don't think is by the end of the show gonna have a lot of friends in this cast. Like
I don't think he cares about having friends. He
I don't
wants
think
to win.
and probably not, but he's gonna need people to win. And I think that will he run out of that kind of currency? Can he sort of at least stay in people's good graces? Can he back off? I think he might have to. Depends if he can sort of have an awakening in this game or not. Anyway, so what was the next conversation you wanted to get to?
No, if I may, Jaemeel,
you may Foster anytime.
All I'll say to all your rebuttal and all your proven facts and history and all that good stuff is that I only said Zach was good. I never said he was great.
Okay, fair enough. Look, hey, Dave, how many times have I won Big Brother? In our
in the whole thing?
Yeah. Zero.
Let me...
I can tell you right now. I'm pretty sure.
Zero. I didn't know for sure. You've never. You won Big Brother USA.
Yeah. Okay. Well. Even the clock is right twice.
Huh?
Even the clock is right.
Broken clock's right twice a day. Yeah.
Yes. So Foster, take everything I say with a grain of salt.
No, I know, but all I'm saying is that you packed a lot of beef in there, and I was just like, I didn't want to go on the next question without having some sort of rebuttal, and I went with short and sweet.
Fair enough. Anika and was it Zuki? I'm still learning the name. Zanika? Kuzi. You knew exactly what I was talking about. They had a conversation on the couch when JM and Hope went to go get some tea, and Anika just went off. And she was like, pointing out the people who are considered negative, which was Tattoo Dan, JM. I think she mentioned Hope too. And you're like, wait a second, is she just throwing the purple room under the bus? Right. It seemed like it. And then Kuzi was like trying to set her straight, like, hold your horses. Like, Anika just playing a very desperate game.
Well, yeah, Anika's ultimately on the block here, and I think what does Zach describe her as? Like a player nobody cares about, or something like that.
She's inconsequential.
Yeah, here's Kuzi's reaction to the whole Anika thing.
But she's right. She's like, wait, you're calling out all the people who we can technically beat in a physical challenge, and there's this all boys alliance that is just right in front of us, and you're just completely ignoring that.
Yeah, pretty much. I don't think she really gets it, and I think that's what is it? Zach's like, who cares about her? She's not gonna win the game. See you later. It doesn't matter. He's just like completely dismissive of her. He's like, she's not a threat. If we get rid of her this week or not, doesn't matter. We're gonna get rid of her. Just backdoor John Michael. That's the play. That's what the grand scheme.
Not wrong.
He's not wrong. And I think that Santina's hearing him mostly in this episode.
Tattoo Dan finally had a conversation with Santina. He absolutely, when you see him in real life, you're like, oh, that's why the gym bros aren't like friendly with him, because he certainly does not look like a gym bro at all.
It's his disposition. It's kind of sour. He seems like he's not approachable.
I think he's a loner, and it's not his scene.
He's got this resentment behind his eyes.
Oh, really?
That's my read. That's just what I'm going to say here about Tattoo Dan.
Tattoo Dan, which I'm certainly, if I was Daniel, I would like, call me Dan, call me D, call me anything. Don't call me Tattoo Dan. Please don't let that be the nickname. What's the other Daniel known as? Like, does he have some kind of fashion Dan? Like, what is okay? Anyways,
Designer Dan,
maybe.
Yeah.
Anika also had a conversation twice, and
Santina?
with Santina, and she just throws JM under the bus, and just seems so desperate. Like, I was expecting that the third meeting was gonna be her like licking her shoes. Like, please don't hurt us. No more. I'll do anything.
Yeah. Well, Foster, what did you make of like the whole conversation with Anika and Santina, and how well they had a few conversations as we mentioned, but like
I feel like in a normal world, like they could have worked together, but it's just the way that they kind of, like, once again, like the way that Santina's playing, it's like, okay, the first however many people I met and talked to in the first however long span, right? Like those people I'm good with, right? So I'm not going to throw anybody, because she's not thinking about what's going to rock the house. She's thinking what's going to, for herself, right? Like what's not
what her relationships and
what her relationships are, right? Because she basically put that as basically her options for both Dan and Anika, right? So at the end of the day, like all the players should not try to win HOH first week, because it is the worst position to be in, right? If you don't get over if you are selected for the first week, it is mostly a tough, because unless someone presents it to you, right? If someone comes out and is abrasive, or someone comes out and is vulgar or intimidating or what have you, right, or unpleasant, then there's like John Michael. The way that they're portraying it is John Michael is the unpleasant, unwanted, annoying, whatever,
gossipy guy or something.
Gossipy guy, right? Thank you, Dave. And but the reality maybe is that he's not even on Santina's radar, because he's not. I don't know. Like he's the house vote because Zach's pushing it.
Yeah, and no one's really, they're like, whatever, sure. Like I think if it doesn't,
Like,
whether it's
mention his name, one or two people mentioned his name, Nika and somebody else.
Tattoo Dan.
And that was it. And they went
Tattoo Dan. So there's Renee, of course, on the block, but it doesn't seem like anyone's seriously considering voting her out. Or like no one's in a hurry to, at least. And who's the other one? Anika, Tattoo. Oh, and then John Michael. So I think if any of those people go this week, doesn't matter.
Well, John Michael isn't on the block right now. It's Anika.
No, I know he's not on the block yet, but if he does end up, I think he's their automatic replacement nomination for if any of these people come down, and the current nominees, and so then and if whoever goes is whatever, I think, for the house at that point, mostly, and then this will be a pretty simple first week, I think, but it's gonna be interesting to see what sides divide from here. Because okay, sure, like you got some people on the bottom here, depending on who survives this week, but then who's vying for power? If you have Zach, let's say Zach is one side, and what's the other side of the house at that point?
And what you brought up, what's going to happen next week? I think that Santina is playing this wrong. If she has a choice between JM and Anika, she should get out Anika. And the reason why is, let's say Zach is absolutely right and JM is the house target, but JM technically hasn't done anything yet to have the wrath of the house totally chop his head off. It does not make sense to go after the house target, because next week you don't have power.
Tomorrow. Oh, next week, power. Okay.
Well, I mean,
you're talking about like when are we gonna find out the next episode? I was like, Jaemeel, we've got 2 more episodes this week. Jeez, but I didn't realize you were talking about power. But of course, yeah, HOH.
The next HOH week, right? You're not going to be in power, right? And it would make more sense that you build up this house threat, right? So that whoever is in charge next week, hopefully not JM, can put him up as a target, right? If Anika survives this week, she's always going to be on the block.
Oh yeah, she's an automatic, like a renom possibility. Like always. This is like the 4 of them, the 4 names, including Renee and John Michael, who I know is not yet a nominee. I think are complete, like bottom feeders.
I
for
think
most
I
of the
think
season.
could be safe if he wins veto.
If
If
he were to win the next HOH, then of course all bets are off, and
I don't even
it's a
think
whole new
even
day. But
HOH, because the impression will be he nearly won the first competition, first HOH. He was almost HOH there, and then he also did a great job in veto. Right, you got to put a little respect on his name, right?
right,
Like, because they already think he's really smart. Bel Air Direct insurance, stupid.
okay, yeah. Like, so this whole like they're like, we have new sponsors, everybody, and like there's this like whole like dark sequence. Something's going to happen. What is hearts are pounding, and it's very ominous. And then it's just like the sponsor is giving safety. You find out because which ends up being
Claudia.
Claudia, right?
Yes. Which leads to a next scene where Daniel is kind of salty. My girl is saying Daniel, Fashion Dan, is is a little salty about he's like, man, I wanted Canada to pick me to be safe. And then Hope goes and says, give them a reason to vote for you. And I'm like, whoa, that was so kind of cold. And it was like just dead. It was just dead for a second. And he's like, I'm not just trying to be sassy, just trying to be, positive. And I'm like, that was not positive at all.
No, it was pretty like was it designer Dan who was just like yeah, though it's cool, man. That's not harsh at all. He just kind of played it off.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. And then JM comes into the room and then asks if anyone is speaking to, like, are people talking in the house? Because
people talking about me?
He doesn't even just see me. He's like, is anyone talking? Because it feels like he basically alludes to the room being on the outs, right?
Right. Well, I think that so who is in this room for this conversation? It's designer Dan, it's Annika, it's John Michael, and Hope. Right. So I guess that's I'm answering my earlier question. Like, okay, so if one side of the house is like Zach and his minions, which includes I guess
Ty, Roberto, and Jonathan.
So then the other side of the house is everybody sort of else. You have Hope, you got John Michael, you've got designer Dan,
the Daniels,
both Dans, I guess, and some of the women as well.
But Claudia is trying to hook up with Ty.
With Roberto, so she's trying to get up with like that.
No, Roberto is with Santina's with Roberto.
Santina's with Roberto.
Claudia's trying to get with Ty.
Okay, was Claudia? No, but wasn't somebody was trying to get with Roberto before? Who was it? It was this is like complicated. It was Shania. Remember Shania? She's still remembers.
She's still in the house, but is she a thing? Like,
I think it's free flowing right now. They're just kind of going episode to episode right now.
I know, but what was focused on in this episode was Ty and Claudia and Santina and Roberto, which Zach alluded to. He gave them their assignments of who they're supposed to connect with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
right? But then at the same time, Zach was kind of like, I don't trust Zurika, Kuzi. Okay? It's always one per season, Dave. Always one.
Well, right? her full name is like Kuzi Vashkawashi or something like that.
Yes, so. I did not say any of that. So Kuzi, right? Zach saying, I think it was to Ty. You saying that Kuzi you're tight with Kuzi, but I don't try her. Shocking, Jaemeel. Really, Sam? Really, Sam? Foster, getting my balls busted here in the chat.
I know, right? Sam can be a savage.
Don't worry about it. Don't let it rattle you. You're a professional. You got this. Come on.
Sam, come on, man. Where's Team Jaemeel? Right? Me and Jonathan. Koozie.
But you misspelled
Sam, you cannot remember all of the people's names. Like we're a couple episodes in. Give me time. Give me
You'll
time.
get there.
Hold on.
I'm still learning the names too. Don't worry.
Okay.
I'm with you.
All right. I don't have like a list of names. I only have my notes here. All right.
Just to stir the pot. It's actually,
I'm just trying to keep.
It's just sorry if I may, Dave. To stir the pot. It's actually episode 3, not episode 2, Jaemeel. So you should be a little bit more prepared. But that's just me. Okay. Anyways,
I watched episode 2 and 3 tonight.
Thank you for your time on this subject, Jaemeel. And Dave, take it away.
I'm just trying to keep a track of what showmances are happening still.
Whenever our next episode is, which we'll talk about.
We have to discuss that. That's part of the agenda tonight.
I will put together a romance chart. I'll have one together.
Who knows all the names? Never done.
Hey, Sam says he thought Team Jaemeel was done. Sam, you were talking Team Jaemeel when I picked Jonathan. So now you're backtracking on that.
Yeah, he picked it for you, well, it still says on our draft board Teams Jaemeel for life. So it was supposed to be for life. Same. Right? Forever.
I didn't even talk bad about your girls in either show, Sam. Anyways, sorry, Foster. Sorry, me and you. We're talking, and Dave. So let's get into the nominations, right? So
Sure.
our nominated individuals, we kind of alluded to it before. It is Renee, who is being joined on the block with Tattoo Dan and Anika. Even after Anika was told previously that she was safe. The supposed backdoor is coming to JM, and we're going to see exactly what's going to happen in terms of the veto ceremony.
Yeah, sorry, I was just trying to get a shot here. These guys, the 3 nominees.
Anika didn't understand the assignment. Where's the red?
Yeah, she doesn't match. She doesn't even have the color coordination.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not really understanding the clothing vibe for a lot of the folks in the house. But whatevs. Okay.
There's fashion shows. There's all kinds of things going on. I think one thing we kind of maybe missed was the whole scene where Santina like lost it and she went on and like into the pool room, the billiards room, and we're talking to Zach about how she hates John Michael. And she's like, putting him up, and Zach was just loving it. He was like, "This is the greatest thing that's ever happened. I'm controlling everything here with her HOH."
Well, I think that was after an Anika conversation. Oh, now it's back in the case. Anika said that JM, Tattoo Daniel, Claudia, Renee are super tight, which seems weird because we never really seen that group ever have a conversation at all. You don't even really see you see JM in individual sequences. Same thing with Tattoo Daniel. Barely even spoke until I think 20 minutes left in the episode.
Yeah, and he doesn't have much to say. Like, what? I'm just slow to talk to you, and so you can put me up. And she's like, "Yeah." He's like, "Oh, that sucks."
He's a winner. You could really tell he's a DJ.
Yeah, he's just like I don't think he's long for this. I think he's completely expendable to most of them, and we'll see if any of these like sort of people who are at the bottom right now end up like getting sort of under prioritized and making it into the jury phase, and if they'll be goats or some, whatever. But it's rough starts for a lot of players here, I find.
I feel like the right move, honestly, for the All Guys Alliance, is to get rid of Tattoo Daniel. The reason for that is if you take out either Renee, Anika, or just want to say John Mitchell.
John Martin or John Mitchell.
John Martin, just say his name wrong on purpose, is it kind of emphasizes something that people already know, which is there's an all-men's alliance and they're running the game. And they're getting rid of the weaker players or anyone who opposes them. And you want to give yourself as much runway as possible, right? Because once alliances are exposed and it's early in the game, they die.
That's true. But there's a lot more to go here. I think what one of the key things here is because Amal walked out of the house, there's this imbalance here for men to women just automatically to start this game off by no fault of anybody's, really. So there's 8 men and 7 women. So if they vote out a woman here this week, I think, now you have 8 men and 6 women. And so that's going to throw off this dynamic and will that make the women want to push hard for a guy or multiple guys to go up for a couple of weeks. So I think that's got to be in the minds of a few others. So John Michael might be a good option here, or Dan, I think, for this week, just to sort of put any kind of the minds at ease. If you're thinking from Zach's point of view, or, Jonathan or a number of other people's, Ty, who are all sort of on that side and just sort of want to control the power of the house, and if there's this imbalance, that will be a little harder to do, at least.
Foster,
I'm just excited that tomorrow's the episode. Jeez, and then Thursday, and then again
3 nights in a row.
Weekend Tuesday, and then back again Wednesday. You know what I mean? It's just
it
goes. It's, all I'm saying is Jaemeel is Survivor is once a week, every week, right? I'm just getting into 3 times a week. I'm just like, okay, I gotta catch. I was thinking early in the podcast, I'm like, I gotta watch this next episode, tomorrow's episode, on top of Thursday's episode before the Thursday part, because that's what I'm presuming.
Okay, so a little inside baseball, Foster. How my typical week went when we were doing Big Brother in previous seasons is I would have the episodes, but then I would also be reading or watching or listening to the feeds during my workday so that I could be up to date as much as possible. And then I would usually reread just to make sure I had all the major points. I also read a lot of social media. So that means a lot of Twitter, a lot of Facebook of people's reactions of what's happening. So it isn't just the 3 episodes. It's all the stuff in between. I was just consuming so much Big Brother typically. So I'm at a loss this year because I haven't watched any of the digital dailies. I'm going to be catching up in the next 2 days with that. So I can be on time with it. But I don't know what's happening in the house outside of what is on the TV screen. So when you're JM could be, exactly what they're saying is, and I'm like, I can't tell, and usually I would be able to know.
I know it's kind of a different way of podcasting with you about the show now, because normally I would say, well, I'm feeling this about this personality. You'd be like, I don't know if you're really gonna feel that way, Dave, after I tell you what happened on the feeds yesterday and what this one person did. I'm like,
He's like, Jaemeel, I just want to get to the spoiler section now that you said that. Yeah, and I got no spoilers right now.
There's no spoilers. We don't. What we see is what we get, sort of. But there's probably way more going on behind the scenes that we'll never know. But that makes it a little bit more like a Survivor season in some ways. We get our little Ponderosa clips in the digital dailies, but this is kind of like a little bit of a closed set now.
I guess in the sense we don't really get that much background information outside of what they tell us, because Big Brother really doesn't push for people to talk about their past history unless they're very forthcoming with it. A lot of it's their present that's being discussed.
Oh yeah, well that is something that they don't do a ton, other than when you're HOH, they'll say I love my family, or I have this kind of thing in my life. So if you have that moment in Big Brother, they'll let you kind of talk about, you get the letter from so and so, you can talk about whatever. But
They do have the occasional like I'm this minority segment sometime in the season where it's probably going to be Vanessa talking about her alopecia and vitiligo and how she learned to love herself, and they put the dramatic music before they cut to commercial. All right, it's like a 2-minute segment that they do every season with one minority cat.
Big Brother USA does this too, but they sometimes do it differently, where they're like, let's pray. There'd be always these religious people at the USA house, so they always want to pray and do something like that and talk about their Bible. And the Big Brother Canada, there's usually like they try to have like
Kiefer, do a prayer with us. Do a prayer.
Well, Kiefer would do stuff like talk about being Indigenous and from First Nations and different things with his heritage, and I think that there's different aspects of people's lives that you can explore. That's why having people from different parts of Canada, I think, is kind of a good thing in the diversity cast. But on the other hand, it depends. Like, do you just want to watch a competition, a social experiment type of a reality competition, and is what's entertaining to you the most ruthless player? That whole outwit, outlast, outwit, outlast, outplay that Survivor has. Survivor is always like this thing that gets this praise, or like this like respect for playing it, because everyone's like, wow, you lived on an island with no toilets, right, for like 20 or like 3 or 4 weeks, right? But Big Brother is just like, whatever, you lived on a movie set or a TV set for
you just had to deal with Hope farting all the time and having to be handcuffed to him while he had to tinkle.
But there's something impressive about getting sequestered and being cut off from everybody and like sort of living with a bunch of strangers for 3 months too. So it's that's not easy.
Yeah, I guess so.
And I don't know where I'm going with this point, but I just
I think you made a fair, valid argument about the differences between the two.
Sam doesn't like that how the whole house is from Toronto, Ontario. Okay, I have a point here too, Jaemeel. If I may,
I'll let you go first.
I know how you feel about it, but I found out an impressive statistic. 1 in 4 Canadians is from like the greater like Golden Horseshoe, like not just Ontario, but just like sort of like the Southern Ontario route, that's Toronto, Hamilton, and whatever areas. That's like 25% of the entire country of all Canadians. So in theory, at least 25% of the cast is going to be from Toronto or from the surrounding areas. Like if you're just pulling a random sampling of people. But on the other hand, I know, I think it's also like you want the best people. I think it'd be nice if you can get somebody from Quebec, for instance, or get somebody from Manitoba. But if you don't, you don't. It's what's her name? Claudia is from PEI, but I think she could be on the show no matter where she's from. It doesn't really matter that she's from PEI.
She's from PEI, which has the population of 400,100. Oh, sorry,
not even. No,
I thought it was 417,000.
It's now Prince Edward Island. I think it's like 156,000 people.
Sorry, I stand corrected.
It's less than Oakville.
Less than Oakville, right?
Yeah, right.
And so you have an entire province that has the population less than a small city in the Golden Horseshoe, right?
Yeah,
and the Golden Horseshoe has a multitude of cities with that population, right? Even the size of some of these cities are as big as some provinces.
It's more provincial diversity.
Look, okay, I don't care about provincial diversity at all. If the entire cast is from PEI and it's a good cast, I would watch the show. I watch Big Brother. I don't cheer for someone who's in Vaughan. I wouldn't even cheer if someone was in Brampton. Right?
Yeah. If someone's from Burlington, Foster, would you cheer for someone from Burlington? Would that influence your how you?
I mean, at first, because that's the only way I connect with person, right? But then, like as the season goes along, you get to know the person, right?
Yeah, you might hate the person. Go, this person's from Burlington, but they are not a good representation of Burlington.
Yeah, like it's just no, it's just that it's easy to identify with them right early on, right? Like that's the issue, right? But the problem is that the majority of the cast is from this area, which, like you said, Dave, is more because of the population in general of Canada, right? However, they need to like do a little bit of features, like they could. I don't know, like you said, Quebec, like that's a great example. Like I don't know why they haven't. Like, have they had cast members from Quebec before?
Well, they have a French-speaking kind of Big Brother anyway, so a lot of the they might be inclined to try out for that version over an English-speaking version. But there's also lots of English people in Quebec too who just I don't know, they might try out and they don't get cast.
Wasn't Ty also from Quebec?
From
Big Brother 9?
Tashawn, you mean Tashawn, right?
Yeah,
he was, or he had lived there as for part of his life.
Yeah. But they talked about it. It's like, oh, you're from Quebec, and you're like, oh, kind of, right?
Yeah, they've had people from Quebec on the show. That's the other 20% of the country comes from Quebec. So in theory, 1 in 5 of the cast should be from Quebec. In practice, none of them are. Why? That seems low. BC's got a few people here, right? Like in this cast, I think there's just Kuzi and Shania, and I think that might be it. And then a couple Albertans like Vanessa and Santina, and you got Annika from Saskatchewan.
Like, I just want people that I find interesting, like Kiefer. I was a huge Kiefer fan, right? Kiefer could be from any province. I do not care, right? He just he was just so interesting and so full of life and like an interesting character. Let's have more interesting characters, less people who their job or their personality is that they go to the gym. Okay, less of those. That's what I have more of a problem with in terms of the casting. Right.
I'm gonna say, I think I have it on the board. Right.
The man with the mullet, big gullet, bigger heart. Let's go.
That's my. You calling me a coward?
You calling me a coward right now? Where's my? I gotta have some Kiefer quotes.
Yeah, I love Kiefer. Foster, if you could just see a super cut of Kiefer. Kiefer was great television. Right?
Call me a coward, Tara.
Are you playing right now?
Are you playing? Like, you want there's crazy people, right? Like Spicy V. Where was she from? She was from GTA as well, right? Hamilton. Look. She was gonna be on the show,
right?
She was gonna be. You
have to be You have to be right for TV as well. Yeah, and that's a rare thing. It's not.
You can't be a chud. No chuds allowed.
No chuds. Yeah.
Nothing is rigged.
It's your Spicy B for you.
Spicy B.
Your ass is grass.
I understand people's feelings around the matter because you want to watch a show where you can see yourself on it, right? And when you constantly see people from different provinces, it's like, well, I'm never going to have a chance, right? And that's why I know people get excited when people are from the East Coast. You got the PEI going, you got Newfoundland being represented. It's great. But I want a good show, though.
Don't cast somebody bad just because they're from somebody.
Yeah, right. So to me, I know casting is a hard job, right? It's like a puzzle, and you got to fit the pieces together to have a good season. I've done casting calls for Big Brother, haven't made it, and I went to the Toronto ones repeatedly. Just be thankful they skipped over a lot of the people from those places, because when you talk in basic, I mean a basic people, basic, right? And they're saying all the same things. They're so bland, and yeah.
Well, yeah, I guess I've never even got a call, so I don't know what to say. But I think that if there's been over the different seasons, we've seen a lot of different people play. I think I think you just want a good show. Once they get in there, no one cares where they're from, and definitely in the U.S. version, they definitely don't care about that in the U.S. version. They're like, where is the North Dakota representation in this show, or where is like the Idaho, or any other place that. Wouldn't necessarily get represented. It's just like it is what it is. You can't necessarily have everything at once unless it's the Oscars. Everything everywhere all at once. So I digress. Jaemeel, what else? Do we have anything else to say about this show tonight?
No, I think that's it. I think we should just do closing thoughts. So I'll just shoot first. We should have Foster do the closing thoughts. So I'm giving you prep time ahead of time of your clothing thoughts. Mine is I'm kind of interested to see how this week goes. It's kind of weird saying this on a Sunday, it's on a Tuesday when it's not Sunday, and everything just seems so, mashed together.
Yep.
It's always good when you see people kind of show their true colors, and because you get to know who the different characters are in the season, whether they're gone too soon or they establish themselves early and we see them play out for the rest of the season. We see that with Santina. We see that with JM. We see that with Zach. Let's see some more characters kind of, bring themselves out to the forefront. I hope the show does a better job in terms of showcasing what is exactly going on in the house and the different characters that are contained within. So we'll see.
Yeah,
Dave.
My final thoughts are: how are we going to do a podcast tomorrow night? Yes or no? And
No, we're not. We're not doing.
No, we're skipping tomorrow night, so we're not on for Big Brother
tomorrow night. Is Survivor night. I'm sorry.
We got Survivor on tomorrow here on Super Maters, so we're going to talk about this because I think it's back to back. Survivor's first, and then we'll just come on.
It's 8 and 9, so no.
Yeah. No, so then we'll catch up on Thursday. Although I have the Picard podcast, so I'm not sure if I'm joining you guys for that or not. But yeah,
you could be a renegade and just come in through and just disrupt the flow and go stop the presses, Foster and Jaemeel. I gotta take.
I might come in with a hot take, but I may not have seen the episode yet. So depending on what time you guys are starting,
it doesn't matter, Dave. We love to have you.
I'll try to make it, but
we love to have you in your own podcast.
Yeah. I would love to be there for my own podcast.
You're franchising the Super Mater Brothers.
Yeah, I'm just franchising. I'm delegating. I'm just like, you guys go over here and talk about this for tonight, and I'll talk about the Star Trek Picard, so that we can do, get it all done.
Yes. So, Foster, you could also plug the rest of the shows, Foster, too.
No, the last thing I want to say is, where's the competition in this episode? What happened to good old competition episodes? What happened? What's going on? There's
no have not competition. There was nothing. Yeah.
So is this? But there's usually a competition, right?
Most episodes have a competition. This was a rare episode not to have any kind of competition.
Well, that was too early. That disappointed me.
Because the HOH had already happened in the first 2 episodes, so this was almost like
I relate this show as a TV competition show, and competitions have competitions.
So, Foster, you have to be careful because if the only way that the Tuesday episode has a competition is if they don't finish the HOH on the Thursday.
But
right?
why wouldn't they have like I thought they don't they have like the slop or whatever, the last place, like the loser?
No, that's usually picked. It's only picked now. It's not a competition, unfortunately.
That's so unfortunately dumb. Like they should. Then they got to play for like
groceries. They used to do that.
Prizes.
They don't do that anymore.
Prizes, like outside the game prizes.
Hey, don't give them any more ideas. Then you're gonna just see like maybe we can get Sears and HPC involved, and they could do prizes, and we can get more people to do sponsorships and product placement.
Right.
Well, there you go. I think Big Brother Canada needs to think bigger.
Don't worry, they're thinking about it. Okay, well, is that it for now, guys?
That's it. I guess we're gonna do the rundown. What are we starting off with? What do we?
Well, here on our own network, in addition to Big Brother, of course, we're talking about Survivor season 44 right now. We'll be on tomorrow night. Actually, skipping Big Brother recap to talk about this. So we'll be on. Jeff Mader usually there for that. Sometimes he'll be. He's there, but we'll be there. All of us will be there, and it's gonna be great, guys. I'm liking this season so far. It's been fun. Of course, also check out the Mary Mader Marvel Society content here on Super Mader Brothers. Like most recently, we talked about Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania, but we've talked about a lot of different MCU stuff. So check out those different podcasts here on the channel. We're part of a greater network called the United Federation of Podcasts, which features a whole bunch of fun shows with our friends, including the KBBBL podcast with Davan, Francis, and Baker on Fridays, talking about the episodes of The Simpsons. There's the Hold Up podcast every second Wednesday with Murphy and Davan, talking about 3 movies and a different theme, where they analyze them, figure out if they hold up. It's a lot of fun. Check it out. Over there, Graphics History Podcast, Andre Mayette, where he interviews people from graphic novels and comic books and movies and different people he's met through his travels.
His next episode has Kurgan. It's great.
Does it?
Kurgan's gonna be interviewed next episode.
You mean Kurgan the wrestler?
Kurgan the wrestler, who was also in 300 and a whole bunch of other movies too.
Oh, okay, yeah, awesome. We got X-Rated, the X-Men the Animated Review Show with Davan and Andre on Tuesdays. They were on tonight talking about a new episode. I think they're up to season 4 now. They're going to be talking about X-Men 97 when that comes out later this year. The Hellbound podcast, Michael Chan, CBS's own, and Alex Blackburn, every Wednesday, an audio podcast where they talk about horror content. There's also the Trivial Debates channel, where we have a monthly show. There's a host and 3 contestants in it. They, different themes, arguing about movies, TV, sports, and more. Most recently, we had Eamon Mader hosting with Davan and Jessica and Jody competing in a love-themed episode. And we also have our Live Long and Podcast channel, Star Trek-themed content, where we do all kinds of great Star Trek podcasts about Star Trek Enterprise, Deep Space Nine. Most notably, this Thursday, we talk about Star Trek Picard. The newest episode is they're in their 3rd season right now. So we're covering all those things. We have our science division that goes into that, where we do things like trivia and fun games and debates. There's the Locutors of Trek. They do some long-form audio podcasts. And the operations division, which does fun things like video games and Star Trek Radio Theater. Most recently, we did the Star Trek Lower Decks live recording, where we had a different. I was Dracula, and I decided, guys, if I could just play Dracula full time, that would be my job. If that was a full-time job,
full-time just play Dracula.
Yeah, I don't want to be a vampire. I just want to play a full-time Dracula as a job. If I could make that happen, that's what I would do.
Makes sense. Great job, Dave.
Those are all the shows.
Yes. So thank you very much, everyone, for joining us. On behalf of Dave, Foster, and myself, we bid you all adieu. And Dave, please play us out. See you next time.
Yeah.
And remember, someone is always watching.